And welcome to another episode of The Focal Thought. My guest today is Joe Trimboli. How are you, Joe?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks
So,
for
Joe,
having me,
you
Croydon.
are a mortgage broker, an entrepreneur, a mindset coach, a speaker, and founder of the Wake Up Call. And you've got your book, which is of the same name as well, right? Your Wake Up Call, which you've co-authored, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. So I wanted to ask you because mindset is sort of a buzzword these days, and I actually think it's very important. You know, when people talk about your mindset, they're really talking about the mental attitude that you have. And you know, we're not talking about thinking here. We're talking about the mindset. So thinking is a component of the mindset. So the mindset encompasses everything, right? Like how you think, how you feel, you know, how you eat, your nutrition, how you exercise. All of that will develop a consolidated mental attitude towards your worldview. And that's important, you know, for the challenges you have in your, say, career path, you know, with family, with the goals you want to achieve. So I wanted to ask you, how did you stumble into, you know, thinking about mindset and then sort of making it, you know, your life mission? And was there sort of like an aha moment with that? So if you could just speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. My God. Well, first of all, I love that you said attitude because mindset really is all about maintaining a certain attitude, which we need to be able to overcome obstacles because it's not going to be a straight line, an easy road to the achievement of our goals. So it really is, a combination of what we think, feel, and how we act as a result of the thoughts and the feelings. So that's awesome, Croydon. For me, I think, they say life begins at 40, and literally that's what happened for me. And I think a lot of people resonate with this. I lived all those years of my life not getting the results I wanted to get or knowing that I could get. I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. I wasn't doing the things I knew I should be doing. And I just got to a point where I was just so frustrated. I had lost passion, desire for, anything really in my life. And it was a conversation I had actually with a friend of mine, Silvio. And he shared some ideas that changed my perspective on certain things that I had been struggling with.
Hmm.
And that led me to a seminar. At the time, it was Bob Proctor, Paradigm Shift. And I started to hear things at that seminar that were like, you asked if I had any breakthroughs. Oh my God, it was like a breakthrough every minute. And things just started to make sense. The clouds started to clear, I started to see things clearly and could relate everything in my life back to the thoughts that I most deeply think and the assumptions I make. And, you know, to understand that at the level that we need to understand it, it requires us to take 100% responsibility for everything in our lives. And that's not easy to do. So my wake up call came at 40 years old as a result of just hearing some information. And from there, I just became obsessed with sharing it because it changed my life. And I know how persistent we need to be in understanding the concepts that we talk about.
Yeah.
So, that's the reason for the daily call. And because nothing's going to happen because we want it or because we become aware of it. It's only going to happen because of the repetition of new ideas that we eventually live by, that we embody and guide our thoughts, feelings, and actions, right? Our attitude.
Correct. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, you're saying it happened at 40. You woke up at 40, but some people, you know, they're sleeping till they're dead, right? So they don't even wake
Yeah.
up. So at least you woke up
Yeah.
at 40. And I also
Yeah.
think, you know, as you live life, as you go through the years, you need more time to kind of see the patterns in your life, right? To be able to recognize those things.
Yeah, you know what, Croydon? I've been thinking a lot about suffering this last little bit, and why do people suffer? Why do we have to suffer here? And people say that money is the root of all problems. I think ignorance is the root of all problems, and we suffer because of ignorance because we don't know what we don't know. We've been given the wrong beliefs. We've been given the wrong um, opinions or perceptions or we're all programmed differently, but our mind works the same. And when you realize that it's the way we're programmed to think, the way we see the world, you realize that it's it all stems from those thoughts. So it's important that we wake up and take control of our lives. Otherwise, yeah, man, we're gonna end up living a life having blamed everything else, circumstances and other people, when really all along we've been the creator and capable of creating anything we want in our lives.
And these thoughts you speak of, this is the inner voice that you hear in your head, right? And again, both conscious and subconscious as well.
I think it's, listen, I think what I've learned is that I gotta start questioning everything.
Yeah.
Like, where did that thought come from? Where does this belief? Why do I think I'm not good enough? Why do I think that's going to work for him but not for me? Um, so it's because we don't know which voice to listen to, really. But as you become aware of truth, so if I give you the wrong, you want to get to LA and I give you a map, but I make a mistake in the directions. I give you a map that I've made an error on,
Yeah.
and you follow the map, according to what I've passed on to you, you're probably not going to end up in LA. You're going to end up somewhere else. But when you get there, you're not going to say, hey, man, that guy gave me the wrong map. You're going to blame yourself. Now, you had no chance of getting there because you were given the wrong map. And I think that's our lives. We've been given the wrong opinions. Everybody's fighting. We've heard you can either be right or you can be happy. So many people not talking to close loved ones because they need to be right about something. They're not letting go of resentment or whatever. So when we start to understand, hey, you know what? The results of my life are a result of my previous way of thinking, whether it be my relationships, my finances, my business, whatever, my health. That all came about as a result of my thinking. What is the cause of my thinking? Am I carrying on with an opinion that came from somebody else who is ignorant, that doesn't know what they don't know? So as
Yeah.
an example, Croydon, like for me, I used to walk around as a joke saying if there was no such thing as bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. And that was a dominating thought. But I've realized that's just somebody else's lie or excuse that we make up to explain situations that we can't justify or can't really understand. But then I became aware of there's a law. It's called cause and effect,
Yeah.
and it's not luck. There's no such thing as luck. It's just cause and effect. There's an effect to every cause. So it's the understanding, the learning, and that's why I'm obsessed with this because it's not just hearing a talk over a 2 hour period and it's going to change your life. It might inspire you, but just like going to the gym, you might go to a boot camp, do a 2 hour yoga class, but are you going to be fit because you did that 2 hour yoga class? It's only going to come about because of going to the gym every day. And it's the same with mindset. We got to really understand truths. We got to start living by, things that we probably never heard before. And when we become aware of things we didn't know, we're no longer as ignorant. We'll always be ignorant because there's always going to be something we don't know that we don't know. But
Sure.
I believe that's the root of all problems. So yeah, it's once you understand those things and you acquire this knowledge, this information, it better directs your thoughts. And now you're better equipped to listen to which voice you want to listen to.
You
Is it
got
my
it.
higher
Because
self? Is it my ego? Is it?
is it someone else's voice in your head, right? That
Right, right. According to, because that's how it works too. Like, I heard something, a quote that like it was like a sucker punch to the gut for me. What you don't fix, your kids inherit. And I think for a lot of us, we have people that love us, well-meaning adults, whether they were guardians or parents or uncles, and not everybody's that fortunate to have, but there was some people that directed us that we might have trusted. And they gave us information and beliefs and, they saw the world through their paradigm, the way they were programmed to think. So they had good intentions, but they
yeah.
could only give us what they had to give. And so we take it with trust, like that's the truth, and we live by that. And it doesn't always serve us. So it's really questioning, nothing's good or bad. It's just, does this serve me? Does this belief serve me? Does this habit serve me? And then deciding, do I want to carry this on or not?
Correct, yeah. I read something the other day. Someone said, it's almost when you get to the end of your life, you realize that life is a do-it-yourself project, right?
Oh yeah,
And then you've got to
100%.
pass on that same information to your kids. And your kids are born into this world. They've got the parents for influence, they've got the teachers, their friends, they've got religion, the environment, the TV they watch, all of those are feeding the voice. Because, humans are an intake system. We take in through our primary senses, sight, smell, touch, etc., then through our non-primary senses, right?
Yeah,
And we don't know that anything we intake is actually, programming us, right? Whether we're
yeah,
aware of it or not. The other thing also through life, you go through, moments of when you're in conscious awareness and then unconscious awareness, when you sort of drift off into daydreaming. And then you
Yeah.
can't be aware you're daydreaming, right? Because that's not possible. It's only when you snap out of it that you realize, okay, I was in this sort of, thought paradigm, which was controlled by the subconscious. So humans almost have to first get a rein on, when are they in conscious mode? When are they in subconscious mode? Because when you're in subconscious mode, you don't have the awareness to know what it is you're doing. So I
Yeah,
wanted to ask,
absolutely.
now that sort of you've established, okay, I'm 40 years old, I've got the wrong map. I'm aware that my mindset needs to change. I want to make the correction. Are you changing sort of fundamentals, or are you changing things that you need for, say, career or family, etc., things like that? What's the best way to go about it?
Well, I just to expand, because that question you just asked, I think I can expand on what you were saying.
Sure.
We live by this paradigm. A paradigm is basically like a program that has already determined the action that we're going to take in an automatic way. So if you haven't heard of a paradigm is basically it's like a program that's that we've inherited for the most part that is influencing it's our it's a habitual way of thinking and behaving. You say you watch people like my mom she takes medication, and sometimes she'll take the pill and then she'll 10 minutes later go, hey, did I take the pill? Now, if she was conscious, she would know she took the pill. But we go through a routine, and they say that 95% of what we do in the day is pretty much unconscious. It's automatic. It's like we're on autopilot. So to answer your question, and that's the reason for the wake up call, because I determined I need to study, just like going to the gym every day. I need to take time out to be conscious so that I can think using my mind on purpose. Because listen, our mind, they say exercise your mind. Nobody knows how to do that because we don't know what the mental muscles are. There's 6 mental faculties: imagination, intuition, memory, perception, reason, and the will. Those are the faculties that constitute our thinking. Now, the reality is we're imagining, we're perceiving, we're doing these things all day long, just like you're breathing all day long.
Yeah.
But if I tell you to stop now and just become aware of your breath, if everybody who's listening, just stop, become aware of your breath, and get in control of your breathing and breathe properly. So as you breathe in, take a deep breath in, expand your belly. And as you exhale, you're contracting your belly in. Now, we've been breathing this whole time, and it's keeping us alive, and it's serving us, but not in a way that serves us best. It's just keeping us alive. And I think thinking is much the same. We just deal with things, and our thinking is happening automatically. But I need to take time out, like you say, to become conscious. And
Yeah.
it's in that conscious time, whether I've taken an hour every day or half an hour a few times a day or whatever, to sort of decide the man I want to become, the man I need to be, the person that would have my goal achieved, the habits I want to instill, the kind of thinking, the way I want to perceive things. Consciously decide those things. Eventually, that writes the program that I'm running by when I'm on autopilot that's programmed in my subconscious mind. So it's hugely important to become conscious. And then from there, yeah, you want to be a better parent? Who do I like? If I want my kids to be this way, who do I need to be as a father for them to be this way? If I want to be in a relationship like this, who do I need to be in that relationship? Right. And I think a lot of people don't ask those questions.
Wow. I mean, I don't
We
mean
live in a
to,
busy world, right? We're always reacting to everything. A text, I got to take the kids to hockey, run to soccer. I got to prepare dinner or whatever. I got emails and clients that need me. And, we're always being drawn to the outside world. And really, every good book says you got to go within. So take time out and really shut out all the distractions. Like you say, the senses bring in all kinds of information. We got to take control and think originating thoughts that we want to be thinking, and program those as a root way of thinking, as a default way of thinking.
got it. And again, I don't mean to, discount the power of this, but it seems very simple, So when you're in conscious mode, practice your good habits so that when you're in autopilot, which is 95% of the time,
Yeah.
it'll do what you've programmed, right? That makes life sort of easier because you've leveraged.
Yeah. You know what, Croydon? It sounds so easy, but it's like saying to somebody who's 300 pounds overweight and has been, hey, it's easy to lose the weight. Just stop eating the Twinkies, go to the gym,
Yeah.
right? But for some reason, I know the reason, we don't do what we know we should be doing. Because if we did, we'd all be our ideal body weight. We'd be healthy, right? We'd drink plenty of water. We'd go to the gym. We'd eat good nutritious foods in the right portions, right? We'd meditate. We'd do whatever we needed to do. We'd be making our cold calls. We'd be knocking on doors. We'd be doing whatever needs to be done. But
Hmm.
we don't do that which we know to do, and that's because of the program. And Carl Jung has a quote that I absolutely love. He says, "Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." So it sounds easy,
Yeah.
because I have in my conscious mind, my mental faculty, I have the ability to think. There's no doing in the conscious mind. The conscious mind is like the seed. It's like the male part of our mind, where we can originate thought, we can accept or reject, but all the doing part is in the subconscious mind. So until we get these ideas, or until we get that which we know as a program in our subconscious mind, the behavior is not going to change. And if we want to change the results in our lives, we've got to change our behavior. And that's what I coach. That's what I teach. That's what I learned. That was absolutely incredible. Because like you say, it's simple. It's not easy, right? Because
Yeah.
you have to have persistence. You have to want the change, and you have to be willing to pay the price. The thing is, you're more likely and more willing to pay the price when you know you're going to get the reward if you pay the price. I think in life we have these beliefs that it's not going to work for us for whatever stupid reason, you know?
Correct. Yeah. How much of the mindset work that, people do you think is more sort of emotional versus logical? Because like you said before, you can have an overweight person, you can tell them logically all the things to do and why they have to do it, but they might not do it till they actually feel they need to do it. And that's motivated either by fear or inspiration.
Yeah, they say you get motivated by desperation or inspiration. So, I was desperate. I think for most people, a lot of people aren't that desperate, and so they need to get inspired. You have to have a big goal or a vision of a life that you want to live. But that vision now has to become so clear in your mind
Yeah.
that it causes you to feel certain things. And the more we understand, the more we gain in awareness and raise our level of awareness, the more we can adjust our behavior. So yeah, a lot of people understand this on an intellectual level. And I think that's how it starts. It starts with awareness.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's only through the repetition of these ideas that you start to catch yourself when you're not thinking the way you should be thinking, that you're catching yourself when you're about to react, or when you're about to not take action when you know you should. And that takes time. And everybody has a different program. So everybody's got a different time period for the amount of time it's going to take for them to get it intellectually, and then to get it spiritually or subconsciously, or whatever word you want to use, where their behavior actually starts to change. And I think the problem people have is when we hear this information, things start to make sense, and we're tricked into believing like that we're doing something about our problem because we understand.
Yeah. So then, by that regard, if you're speaking on repetition, if someone wants to change their behavior, they can just launch fully into repetition. They don't have to wait for motivation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I think the problem is too, like, there's so many people trying to sell something like, I got the answer to this, and this many steps to manifest that, and whatever. And you know what? I think at the end of the day, if you understand certain principles, like there's a chapter, and I recommend anybody to read Think and Grow Rich, especially even if you've read it before, read it again, read it like all the time. And there's a chapter on there called autosuggestion, which is basically affirmations. And it's the idea that you have to keep repeating yours. And it says in there that there's no shortcuts. You can know this all you want, but until you do that, until you get the repetition, nothing's going to change. So, yeah, I mean, I think we need to know what we want to some degree in order to know what we want to repeat to ourselves. But it can start with an idea. Like if you're not taking action, or if you're struggling financially, you could write something like, I'm so happy now that I'm taking immediate effective action every single day and seeing the fruits of my labor, or whatever it is. And You start with that. And then, so there, my answer is there's no right or wrong way of doing this. It's whatever works for people. And I think we all have to loosen up
Yeah,
and do what feels good and do what feels right to us, understanding the principles though.
got it. And when you're working on your mindset, would you recommend, your mindset is aligned with your passion? So, for example, if you want to be a really good, say, salesperson, do you have to have that sort of quality in you, or does that matter, or can you just learn it and become that salesperson?
Well, I think you should definitely work with your strengths instead of trying to develop your weaknesses.
Yeah,
Um, but I think to answer that properly, I think the answer to that is you got to have a goal that fires you up and that you're in harmony with. Like, if you're 60 years old and 4 feet tall, you probably the goal of playing center in the NBA is probably not a great goal, right?
yeah,
So it has to also be within the laws of physics here in this on this earth. But what's important is you have a goal, you know where you want to go. Now that you know where you want to go, you can start asking, well, who do I need to become? And what do I need to do in order to have that? Because you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And so, if like in my case, I was not a great salesperson. I had sales paradigms like you wouldn't believe. So
yeah.
I was in the mortgage business for 17 years when I started to study this, and my results were always average or less. And I became aware that I never made a call to my database, not for renewals, not for maturities, because in my subconscious mind, something that happened when I was a kid, or that would happen, if somebody would call the house during dinner, or at any point, if it disturbed my father would get so annoyed. He'd be like, and for me, it felt like, why are these people calling? What an intrusion. And my father would get so upset, right? Like, I mean, listen, for me, my perception of as a kid was he was probably a lot angrier than he actually was. He was just a little annoyed in the moment. But for me now, as an adult, I'm not picking up the phone to call my clients because I'm thinking I'm going to be intruding on their lives. So yeah, I had a goal of doing a certain amount of volume. I was not a great salesperson, as an example to your question. But once I became aware of where I was at with my paradigm, I looked at that and I said, well, that's ridiculous. And I changed my perception. My clients need to hear from me before they lock in with the bank and end up paying a higher rate. Eventually, that caused me to take an action and actually call a client. And then that action caused a reaction. They would answer the phone. They'd be like, hey, so happy you called. Oh my God, how you been? So, just talking last night about our maturity. So, and when you get that reaction, it causes you to question, like, why the heck haven't I been doing this the whole time? And now I call my clients steady. So to answer your question, no, you don't have to be doing, like, you don't have to be good at it,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't be focusing on developing your weaknesses. I think you should be working with your strengths. And just because you're not doing it now doesn't mean it's not a strength. We just need to identify it.
Become aware and correct, identify it, and then work on it.
Yeah.
With some of the principles that you've been working on with changing your mindset, now that it's changed, are you comfortable that, okay, it's changed, I can move on, or is it still sort of a work in
No.
progress,
Oh my
fine-tuning?
goodness. I wish, Croydon. You know what you know, there's I think to the unenlightened, it might be sort of demoralizing and I don't know, to think I'm never really going to figure it out. What we're ne I know I will never have it. I don't have it figured out now.
Mhm.
I'm just because I have a good mindset doesn't mean I'm not faced with some serious challenges in my life or serious situations
Sure.
that I don't like. But I'm grateful that I'm equipped with a particular mindset that, one is accepting, two, that I don't stress about things the way I used to, that I know that there's lessons in everything. So when something challenging shows up in my life, I'm actually grateful. Like this is growing me into a better person. Now, I know I haven't reached the ceiling. I don't think anybody ever will. There's always more. So for me, I've made a commitment that I'm going to keep studying and working on my mindset till the day I step into my grave, because the better you get, the better everything in your life gets. And it's just like working out, Croydon. If you stop going to the gym, and 3 years later, you can't complain that you gained 100 pounds and that you're not healthy because you went to the gym 3 years ago. It's the same with mindset, man. If we're not constantly working on it, we don't have it.
Got it. And again, the reason I ask is people sometimes liken a mindset to an identity, right? So, for example, if you have someone who smokes, now they don't want to smoke, they might do a program or, quit smoking. Now they would actually, identify as a non-smoker because for the rest of their life, they don't want to touch a cigarette. It's not even in their thinking, I need to smoke after a meal, etc., things like that. So they've actually changed their inner thermostat setting, right, from a smoker to a non-smoker. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting with mindset is that if you're trying to achieve something, maybe now that you've achieved it, and then you can fine tune it, but you've actually achieved that base that you were looking for, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we don't change our identity, if we don't change our self-image, if we don't raise our concept of ourselves, then we might change results temporarily. And you see people go on a diet, they lose 50 pounds, and then 3 months later they gain it back, right? Or they start
Yeah.
making more money, and then a few months later they're not making the money anymore. And that's because sometimes our results can outpace our self-image, but our self-image is developed in a way, like you say, it's like a thermostat. If the thermostat is set at 22 in my house,
Yeah.
things are going to happen automatically to keep the temperature at that setting until I change the setting. So if you want to lose the 50 pounds, yeah, absolutely. Go on the diet, do the walks, do whatever you got to do. But you also got to see yourself and take on the identity of somebody who is in a healthy body, that is your ideal body weight or whatever. Because
Yeah.
if you don't change that image of yourself, you're going to be eating the cake, doing the things you know you shouldn't be doing, but doing it anyways and wondering why you do it. And it's
Correct.
because of the way we're designed. There's nothing wrong with you. This is the way the mind works. And they don't teach this in school. People don't talk about this. And I know the world of personal development and coaching and all that, like it's just inundated with all kinds of people claiming to have the answer. And it gets frustrating because sometimes you take it on and you don't stay on long enough to actually get it for yourself, or the program doesn't change. We think we went to a 3-day workshop and oh, life changing, but then a month later, everything's the same.
Yeah. Because that's what really changing your mindset is, right? Is that identity shift where, if you're not thinking about cigarettes. It's not even in your mind. You can see it. It doesn't affect you. It's not in your radar. It's not in your world anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once like we just read Atomic Habits on the call, and he talks about habit stacking. Once you quit smoking, you're trading a bad habit. You're trading up for better habits. Maybe you go for a walk instead, or maybe you have an apple instead of the bag of chips you would have had as a smoker. Like you just things start to change as you take on that identity, and everything gets better.
Got it. Is there things that, I mean, at this level now that, that you've worked on, um, that you find challenges with, at a higher level that you're striving to do?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges and something I'm always having to look in the mirror is practicing what I preach. Like nothing changes because I'm aware of these things. Things improve when I do the exercise. So when I'm in the routine of practicing gratitude daily,
Yeah.
I see the results. When I'm in the routine of visualizing my goal and getting that picture in my mind and seeing the world through that picture, I see the results. When I'm writing my affirmations. And I think the part I struggle with most and what I talk about a lot, I talk about the law of attraction, not in an airy fairy way. I mean, it's all about action at the end of the day, but it's the thoughts that we think that cause the feelings. The feeling is the vibration. And that feeling, the vibration I'm in, is going to dictate the action I take. And then that action has a reaction, and it's equal and opposite. So sometimes we're in a bad vibration. And I always say to everyone, our only responsibility is the vibration we move into. What
Yeah.
we attract that's the effect. I can't control what I attract, but I know the vibration I need to be in to attract the things that I want. So it's when you realize you're in a bad vibration, when you're not kind of feeling you're on the right frequency, so to speak. And I don't know if I'm talking like gibberish for people now, but basically it's a level of thinking. And
Yeah.
sometimes we can't think past our emotional state or the vibration that we're in. And the only way to change it is by doing that internal work, the journaling, the affirmations, the gratitude. And so I think that's the part I struggle with most is when I feel that I'm moved into a negative vibration. I'm still doing the work, but there's something I'm missing and I'm not aware of it. But it's beautiful because every time I come out of that, I've learned something more and I'm better equipped to help other people because I understand how it works better. So Yeah, absolutely. I'm challenged all the time. Like, don't get this wrong. Every single Tony Robbins, I'm sure, has his challenges.
Yeah.
Everybody does, and we're human, and we have emotions, and it's okay to feel the feelings that we feel and not understand them. But the more you understand, the quicker you are to sort of reset your mind and take control of the situation again.
Got it. You know, these are laws of the universe, right? I mean, if you change your energy and frequency, you change your vibration, right? So that's very true.
Yeah.
So if people want to get a hold of your work, where's the best place for them to reach you?
JoeTrimboli.com. That's the website. You know what? I think the best action anybody can take right now, and it's not because it's my call, but I know that I've got something revolutionary in the sense that there's a place for people to show up every single morning. The community is amazing. There's no judgment, there's no criticism. We read for about 15, 20 minutes, and then I break down in a deeper way what's in the book so that we can relate it to our lives. And it's that repetition. Like, people have been on the call for years, and things are just clicking for them now. While all the while, their lives are improving, but it just gets better and better. So joetrimboli.com, that's where you can sign up for the wake up call. There's a 2-week free trial. 5 a.m. _ wake up call is the handle, I think, on YouTube and on Instagram, possibly TikTok as well. I'm sorry, I don't know these handles. And info@joeltrimboli.com is the email that you can reach me at.
Okay, amazing. And I'll be sure to put the contact information in the show notes as well.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Corey. And thanks for having me on, man.
No pleasure. Thanks. It was great talking to you, and I wish you well.
Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. I think people need to have these reminders. So hats off to you. You're doing great things, and I wish you well. Good luck, everybody. Wish you all peace in your hearts.